What's up and welcome back to another PHNX Sun Devils 2025 positional breakdown for your Arizona State Sun Devils. This time, Eric, taking a look at one of the deepest rooms on the roster heading into 2025, and that is the tight end position for Kenny Dillingham's Sun Devils. Of course, coached with Jason Mons, Anthony Totri, Eric Ruby here. Going to break down what is in store for this position for Sam Levitt, for Kenny Dillingham, for all of the guys that play a role in this ASU offense. Before we actually get too deep into what this unit is capable of, just taking a look at the tight ends on the roster for the Sun Devils in 2025. Your starters, Chamon Metayer coming back for another season with the Sun Devils, a second-team all-conference tight end just a year ago. Definitely Sam Levitt's security blanket, but not the only starter for the Sun Devils. Be on the lookout for Kentucky transfer Khamari Anderson. I don't think anybody's had a better fall camp on the offensive side of the ball than Khamari Anderson. Continues to show up. That's why I've got him as my breakout candidate this season at that tight end spot. But doesn't end there. A lot of depth. You got the freshman behemoth tight end in AJ Ia. A couple other returners. Cameron Hartpool looks bigger. We know he's a traditional blocking tight end. You got Colson Aarons, James Giggy, and then Jaden Fortier as well in terms of depth. And then in terms of the losses, St. John Schmidt and Marcuston Douglas. Douglas heading back into the portal, landing back where he started at Florida State. But regardless, Rubus, we feel good about the tight ends that you have on this roster.
Yeah, this feels like one of the elite groups on the team. And there's a lot of them, but we were joking about calling ASU tight end U, right? Yeah. And Jason Mons, the tight ends coach, being a really, really big part of that. But, I mean, returning Chamon, you got to start there, right? Because that's like your bread and butter. That's your security blanket. That's the guy that you need 5 to 7 yards. Like Sam Levitt is probably going to look at him first, to be honest with you. As much as we think Jordan Tyson will be the best weapon on offense, Chamon could easily slot in at number 2 over the running backs, over the other wide receivers. Like he is that good and that consistent, and we know that he wants to continue to improve on what he had last year, which was a second-team all-conference season. Well, what's better than second-team all-conference?
First-team all-conference?
First-team all-conference, right? And they're going to need him, right? They're going to need him to do a little bit of everything, but primarily be that safety blanket. And Khamari is interesting. I think Khamari is one of the more athletic players on the team. You know, he's somebody that
than I thought.
He can just move, right? And I think that's a lot different of a look than Chamon, who, like, Chamon's not going to give you a ton of yak. You know, like he'll give it to you every once in a while, but he's more of like a possession receiver, where I feel like Khamari probably won't have, definitely won't have as many receptions, but they might be throwing it to him and expecting him to do a little bit more after he catches the ball, right? Plus, that can also play into fact with speed and blocking and getting out ahead of guys and blocking for Sam Levitt running, or one of your 3-headed running backs getting out there as well. I'm really excited about that starting duo. Obviously, though, like when you start looking at the depth, you go to the youngest guy that you're probably the most excited about, somebody at their Camp T scrimmage hauled in a touchdown, somebody who doesn't look like a freshman.
No, absolutely
doesn't
not.
Play like a freshman, and that's AJ Ia. You've seen him practice every single day. How impressive is this kid?
Yeah, I mean, I said it in the spring that he's got all the tools and the talent to be the best freshman tight end that has ever played at Arizona State. Now, I think it's still maybe a ways away from calling him the greatest Arizona State tight end ever.
Oh, yeah.
But he has all that potential, all the tools, right? Because of all the things you said. He doesn't look like a freshman that's 6'6", 255 pounds. It's somebody that has elite ball skills for a true freshman at the collegiate level. He is a walking mismatch at tight end, especially considering that he is probably your 3rd or 4th tight end that we're talking about on this roster. Now, I did catch up with AJ after the Camp T scrimmage, asked him what he still wants to really improve on with 18 days and change until we actually get to kickoff. And that is, of course, the run blocking, right? This is somebody that, because he is a true freshman, hasn't had the opportunity to play game reps going against guys that are, either his size or slightly smaller, going 100%. So you can only get so much of a taste as to what blocking is going to be like at the Division I level in practice. So I think those first couple games for him are going to be big. Now, I think Chamon and Khamari are certainly going to take up the majority of those tight end reps, especially early on in the season. But if Arizona State does hit a point where, hey, we're up big, right? NAU, Mississippi State, Texas State, you're going to see a lot of AJ. And I think depending on how he plays in those games will ultimately tell us, okay, is he somebody that we see playing the entirety of the season? Because I think it's there. I think the potential is there for him to play as a true freshman and not redshirt, regardless of how many games he's playing. And then in theory, we're talking about like 4 realistic tight ends for Arizona State that we will see in this rotation. Yeah. Chamon, Khamari, AJ, and then Cameron Harpole.
Cameron Harpole is going to play more than AJ. I think just because I think more consistently, at least for the start of the year, I think AJ is going to have more targets. He's going to have more receptions. He's going to have more big plays. People will notice.
More of a receiving threat.
People will notice AJ more. Cameron Harpole is going to go in there to put you in the dirt.
Cameron Harpole is a lot bigger, man. He's looks a lot bigger than he was last year. And just don't be surprised to see 12 personnel, 13 personnel. We're looking at 1 back, 2 tight ends, 3 tight end sets, because this coaching staff feels really, really good about what they have at this tight end spot. And I mean, why wouldn't you?
Right. I think there's one other name that we have to talk about here. It's the Golden Goose. Okay. Jaden Fortier is probably the most hybrid-y tight end out of everybody in this room, who slots in more as a wide receiver. I mean, a top-end recruit, somebody ASU is really excited to get, the Golden Goose nickname coming from the ASU coaching staff. Is this a season where he sees the field? Because when you talk about 4 tight ends deep and 4 tight ends that do a little bit of everything, is there a spot for him to work in?
I'm going to say right now, no. Okay. I don't see it happening this season just based off of what we've seen in practice. Again, this is a unique year for Arizona State because of the returners that you have, and that's not just relevant to the defense or wide receivers or running backs. This is the tight ends, right? You've got Chamon back. You've got even guys that we didn't necessarily think, or we don't necessarily think will be big players, right? Giggy and Aarons were here last year, right? They decided to come back. They're familiar with this system. They understand it as well. So it's not just that Fortier has to compete with Khamari and Chamon and AJ and Harpole to get reps. He's got 2 other tight ends that he also has to compete for. Not to mention he is the thinnest of those tight ends.
He has more of a wide receiver body.
He does. He 100% has a wide receiver body. So I don't see this being the year for him to really make a big impact. But I think when you look beyond this year, you're like, okay, Shamon's probably gone. Cameron Harpole is probably gone. So what does that room look like at that point? Is next year the year for Fortier to really try and elevate his game and play on this ASU team? I think that's what you have to look for. But I think as it stands right now, before the season starts, Chamon, Khamari, AJ, and Harpole are going to be your really tight ends that you're focused on in 2025.
Exciting times.
I can't wait. I know you guys can't either. Let us know in the comments which Arizona State tight end you are looking forward to seeing the most. And of course, plenty more positional breakdowns coming your way right here on PHNX Sports.